All right, let's dive straight into this explainer and build your ultimate coach's playbook for totally mastering the IELTS listening test. Look, if you've been staring down this exam, you already know it can feel incredibly intense. I mean, unlike a reading test where you can just flip back and reread a paragraph, the listening test, you get exactly one chance. You hear the audio once, and that's it. But today, we are going to completely transform the way you approach this challenge. We're going to break down the actual mechanics of the test and hand you the exact strategic blueprints you need to succeed.
Here's our exact roadmap to that Band 7 Plus. We'll cover the IELTS listening landscape, the 6 question types, 3 essential scoring strategies, and we'll wrap it up with a live drill of Section 1.
Starting with number 1, the IELTS listening landscape. Because, well, before we start running plays, we really need to understand the rules of the game and the layout of the battlefield. So the whole thing progresses over 30 minutes and 40 questions, moving through 4 distinct sections, and they're totally designed to ramp up in difficulty as you go. You kick off in Section 1 with a pretty basic, everyday social conversation between 2 people. Then Section 2 shifts to just a single speaker, still in a social context. But by Section 3, boom, you're thrust into an educational setting with 2 or 3 people talking over each other. And finally, Section 4. This is the heavyweight round. It's a dense, complex academic lecture delivered by a single speaker. The vocabulary just gets progressively harder, which means your focus has to continually sharpen the longer you listen. Now, what's really fascinating here is exactly how little room for error you actually have. To just hit a Band 6, you need 23 correct out of 40. But look at that jump to Band 7. You need 30 correct. And if you're aiming for that elite Band 8, you need 35 out of 40. Literally dropping just 6 questions immediately eliminates you from a Band 8. That means every single point is a fiercely contested battle, and you just cannot afford to lose points on careless little errors. Moving right along to Section 2, the 6 question types. Let's open up the opponent's playbook and see exactly how they're going to try and strip you up. You're going to face a mix of these 6 question types across those 40 questions, and honestly, each one demands a totally different kind of intense focus. Take multiple choice, for instance. That requires you to flash read the options while simultaneously listening to complex audio, which is just incredibly demanding on your working memory. Or plan and map labeling, where you're suddenly forced to track spatial directions, left, right, north, south, in real time. Note completion? That tests your ability to pluck exact, specific words out of a fast-flowing conversation. Basically, you have to be super adaptable. Okay, Section 3. 3 essential scoring strategies. The absolute crucial point here is knowing how to defend against these questions by adopting the mindset of an active detective, not just a passive listener. So, to build that defense, we have to ask ourselves, what is the number one reason candidates actually lose points on test day? What is the exact mechanism the exam uses to separate the Band 6 candidates from the Band 8 candidates? Well, the test is literally a minefield of distractors. This is, without a doubt, their favorite trick. They'll have a speaker state an answer super confidently, and just as you start writing it down, the speaker will suddenly correct themselves, or the other person will jump in and disagree, changing the answer entirely. It's totally devious, and they do this intentionally just to trick the average passive test taker who stops listening the exact second they hear a keyword. This brings us to Strategy 1. Before the audio even starts, you get a few precious seconds of pre-listening time. A Band 7 Plus candidate uses this time aggressively. They're looking at the gaps on the page and predicting exactly what's coming. Is gap number 4 going to be a name, a date, a location, a currency? If you know going in that you're listening for, say, a plural noun, your brain is instantly primed to catch it when the audio actually plays. And this brilliantly illustrates our next strategy, which is all about strict word limits. Guys, the instructions are absolute law. If it says no more than 2 words and/or a number, you must obey it to the letter. Notice how the phrase 3 red flowers uses the numeral 3 acting as the number plus 2 words. That fits perfectly. But if you write 12 male geese, spelling out the word TWELVE, you've now written 3 words and 0 numbers. That completely violates the rule and costs you the point, even if your comprehension of the audio was absolutely perfect. All right, Section 4, live drill. Time to get your pen ready and actually apply this blueprint in real time. We're going to run through a classic Section 1 mock scenario involving a customer calling a bookstore called Jungle Books. First things first, pay incredibly close attention to this instruction limit. Everything we do in this drill must conform to this exact boundary. Please do not let all your hard work be completely undone by poor word counting.
Okay, so imagine you're listening to the audio. The customer is giving his address. Okay, did you catch the trap right there? The speaker on the phone asks to confirm the street name by spelling A-D-A-M. The average candidate immediately writes down Adam, breathes a massive sigh of relief, and completely misses the quick follow-up where the customer corrects them. Yes, but with an S, Adams. The band 7+ listener anticipates that distractor, waits out the whole interaction, and confidently writes Adams. And remember, spelling is strictly tested in IELTS. If you heard Adams but forgot the S or misspelled it, that is 0 points. There is no such thing as partial credit here. Next up, the customer is ordering a book for his sister who loves anime. The store clerk suggests a title. Here, that active detective mindset is absolutely crucial. The audio tempts you heavily with the title King of Seven, but the customer explicitly rejects it, pivoting instantly to the actual book they want. So not only is perfect green the correct factual answer based on the dialogue, but think back to the rules we just discussed. King of Seven is 3 distinct words. Writing that down would have automatically violated our strict no more than 2 words limit anyway. Using your knowledge of the instructions is just a fantastic safety net against those sneaky distractors. All right, let's move to the final blank, where the test asks for the current status of the books. In the audio, the store clerk checks the system and says, "Oh, I see, they're still on their way." But take a look at how the question is actually framed on your paper. The paper says books currently in blank. You have to synthesize the audio and the written paper simultaneously. You can't just write books currently in on their way. I mean, that makes literally 0 grammatical sense. You have to infer the exact vocabulary word that matches the phrase on their way and fits perfectly into the preposition in. Let's see how this builds together. Knowing that in transit is synonymous with on their way secures the point without breaking the grammatical flow of the notes. This right here is where vocabulary and listening comprehension perfectly merge. You will constantly be listening for synonyms and paraphrases because the words on the paper will rarely match the exact words spoken in the audio perfectly. So, you now have the exact blueprint to navigate this minefield. You understand the landscape, the strict rule limits, and the psychological traps the test sets up with distractors. But honestly, it kind of leaves you wondering, if the IELTS can trick us this easily with a simple change of mind or a quick synonym, how much vital information are we passively missing in our everyday real-world conversations? I challenge you to take this active detective mindset. Go apply it to a practice test right now, and maybe even try applying it to your daily life. Thanks for hanging out with us for this explainer, and we'll catch you in the next one.